Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. You know, one of the weird advantages Donald Trump seems to enjoy in his campaign for president is that a lot of Americans have blocked out what it was really like living through Trump's last year, particularly in the White House, when he was downplaying and mismanaging the worst public health crisis in a century and calling for cops and soldiers to dominate Americans protesting police violence and racism. And then, of course, he lost his bid for re-election by more than 7 million votes and decided to pretend that he didn't, inciting his supporters to try and stop the peaceful transfer of power, leading to an insurrection and the worst assaults on the U.S. Capitol since the War of 1812. And through it all, one of the things that became clear was that Trump is, well, we know this, a person with narcissistic and sociopathic impulses who should be nowhere near the halls of power. Those impulses also mean it matters intensely who is around him. When you lack character, you're a poor judge of character. Nowhere was that more obvious than in Trump's attempt to steal the election with the aid of a stunning cast of not ready for primetime players.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China.
Our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro.
We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats. President Trump won by a landslide.
He could take military capabilities and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states.
There were convicted and pardoned criminals like Michael Flynn and Roger Stone, the MyPillow guy, the Overstock.com guy, Rudy Giuliani, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Sidney Powell, the attorney whose meritless lawsuits and conspiracy theories didn't release the Kraken so much as incriminate her and jeopardize her law license. Jeffrey Clark, who proposed to take over the Justice Department and use it to bolster Trump's fake accounts of election fraud, and who ended up having his house raided for election interference while he stood in his driveway in his underwear. All those people empowered Trump and worked to facilitate an attempted coup, even while, let's remember, other people in the White House, like Trump's own White House counsel Pat Cipollone, tried to stop them.
I opened the door and I walked in. I saw General Flynn. I saw Sidney Powell sitting there. I was not happy to see the people who were in the Oval Office.
Explain why.
Well, again, I don't think they were providing. Well, first of all, the Overstock person, I've never knew who this guy was. Actually, the first thing I did, I walked in, I looked at him, and I said, "Who are you?" And he told me. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice, and so I didn't understand how they had gotten in.
I'll tell you how they got in, Pat Cipollone. The president of the United States invited them in. He wanted Overstock.com guy right there. There was a reason that Donald Trump cleaved to the most whacked-out, power-hungry, reality-denying weirdos in his inner circle instead of listening to his more cautious White House personnel, or his top lawyers, the Department of Justice, or his vice president and his vice president's staff. As he felt his power slipping away, Trump very consciously invests his energy in people who would indulge his insecurities, people who would encourage him to follow his worst instincts and cling to power by any means necessary, up to and including staging the first attempted coup in American history. Remember, Donald Trump was so mad he left Washington without even attending his successor's inauguration. The lasting image of his final days in power was him inciting insurrection, egged on by the kooks who he invited into his entourage. That happened. That's scary enough. But, here we are again. So look who he is keeping around him now. For instance, far-right media personality Laura Loomer, a self-identified proud Islamophobe who says she's pro-white nationalism. She's called Kamala Harris a drug-using prostitute and who has been called appalling and extremely racist by Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people. Now, yesterday, we told you how Loomer, who's called for the execution of Trump's political enemies and celebrated violence against migrants, got a ride from Trump on his private jet to this week's debate. How she then accompanied the former president to a 9/11 memorial observance in Manhattan, despite, or who knows, maybe because of, the fact she's a 9/11 truther. We told you how elected Republicans and campaign officials, a la Pat Cipollone, have grown concerned over Trump's increasingly close relationship with Loomer. They certainly seem very close. Many insiders saying she's encouraged Trump to push the conspiracy theories he's now spouting on the campaign trail. One thing is certain, Trump is kind of enamored with Loomer right now.
It's great to have you, and you've been really very special. You work hard, and you are a very opinionated lady. I have to tell you that, and in my opinion, I like that.
Well, I
but
appreciate that.
all of your support, and you've been terrific, and everybody appreciates you. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to sit with you today. Pleasure. You're the best. I love you.
It's kind of sweet in its own weird way. Now, all this came to a head today at Trump's latest press availability, where, after a few days of people asking, like, what the hell is going on here, he was asked point blank by reporters about his closeness to Loomer and her nutty extremism.
What would you say to your Republican colleagues or your allies who are concerned about your close relationship with Laura Loomer?
Well, I don't know what they would say. Laura's been a supporter of mine, just like a lot of people are supporters, and she's been a supporter of mine. She speaks very positively of the campaign. I'm not sure why you asked that question, but Laura is a supporter. I don't control Laura. Laura has to say what she wants. She's a free spirit. Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I can't tell Laura what to do. Laura's a supporter. I have a lot of supporters, but I don't know what exactly you're referring to.
Mr. President.
That's okay.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
I just don't know. Laura's a supporter. I don't know.
But she made
She
racist remarks
is
the day
a
before.
strong person. She's got strong opinions, and I don't know what she said, but that's not up to me. She's a supporter.
Let's see, she's a free spirit. Can't keep that bird in a cage. She's got to be herself. She's got to express herself and say things like 9/11 was an inside job. She's a strong person, and maybe 100 times she's a supporter. So what can I do? Doesn't matter what the person does. They're a supporter. That may all be true, but it's not true that Trump is unfamiliar with Loomer's statements. And you know how I know that? Well, because just yesterday he was sharing links to Loomer's website on his own social media accounts. Meanwhile, today, Loomer is today, posting more 9/11 conspiracy theories to her own social media. I'm not going to share them with you. While some Republicans are grumbling about Trump's closeness to Loomer, others are following his lead. Today, The Bulwark reported that the National Republican Senatorial Committee, a group that's been doing a bang-up job, by the way, the GOP's official campaign arm for the upper chamber, has increasingly relied on the video content Loomer produces. Since July, the NRSC has promoted 8 of Loomer's videos featuring her reporters who shout loaded questions from the street at Democratic senators up for re-election in battleground races. Make no mistake, if Donald Trump becomes president again, Laura Loomer's going to be there on day one. She might even end up in his administration.
Laura Loomer's turned out to be a warrior for your dad. You pulled up the screen. I hope she's press secretary when you're. Listen, she's a bulldog, man. I'll say that. She gets after it. I'd love to see her as press secretary just to watch DC just explode.
That was Don Jr. back in November of last year. Again, this is not. I can't stress this enough. This is not like incidental, trivial stuff. It's not guilt by association thing. Oh, you like some tweet? No. It's Trump's MO, openly embracing supporters with the most extreme, vile, authoritarian, bloodthirsty impulses to match and deepen his own, and then empowering them and using them to facilitate his own worst impulses. We saw it already. We've been through it. It's not theoretical. On January 6th. That's what we are heading for again, very obviously. That's why it matters that a free-spirited, openly racist, deeply troubled 9/11 truther who wants to prosecute perceived opponents for treason is getting so very, very close to Donald Trump.